Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. Today on the podcast and tomorrow on the podcast, we are talking about who and when and why you should and shouldn't open a coffee small business. But we're going to do it in a bit of a different way. Today, we're going to give 5 reasons why you should delay opening a coffee small business. And in the next episode, I'm going to give you 6 reasons why you should go ahead and open a coffee small business. However you define the coffee small business, whether it be as a cafe, a roastery, an app, a piece of technology, whatever it is. Today, 5 reasons why you should delay. Next episode, 6 reasons why you should move ahead. All right, let's get started. Reason number 1 why you should delay opening a coffee small business. Well, because it's nowhere near as simple as most people, a vast majority of people who come into this industry expect it to be. It's nowhere near as simple. People get this strange idea that all I need to do is get a space, fit it out, get an espresso machine, some tables and chairs, and just pay someone not very much money and we'll be good to go. It is so involved to open a small business, particularly your first small business in coffee. Same thing with right now, we've got a boom of people wanting to own their first roastery. It is much, much more involved than what you think. And so I would encourage you to delay getting into your first small business in the coffee industry if you are of the mindset that this is going to be easy. I promise you, no matter how hard you think it's going to be harder. So that's reason number 1. Excuse me. Reason number 2 to delay opening your first coffee small business is because you need time to get educated. And I don't just mean getting educated on how to brew coffee or how to roast coffee. Yes, those are things that you need to get educated in. But by and by, they're the easier things to get educated in when it comes to opening a coffee small business. The other kinds of things that you need to get educated in are understanding how to read financial statements and do your books, knowing what a profit and loss statement is, understanding how to navigate cash flow. That was a difficult one for me, understanding how imperative cash flow is to a business. Other things are understanding how the value chain works, understanding that the intricacies of the different origins and how coffee is sourced is very important. Understanding the pricing of green coffee when it's FOB, free on board, versus the farm gate versus landed. All of these things are important things to understand, and much, much more. Things like knowing a growth strategy and how social media works, and just thinking that, we'll just find somebody to do that. Not the case. Growth strategies, all of these things, there's so much to learn. And part of what we're hoping to bring you next year as a part of expanding or going into the whole idea of Patreon is to be helping you cultivate all of that through the monthly workshops that we're going to be providing for people who are a part of our Patreon. Reason number 3, you should delay opening your coffee small business is that you need to build a value chain network. What does this mean? So if you've never been in ownership of a small business, let's use a cafe or a roastery, for example, your value chain isn't just your coffee suppliers. It's your pastry suppliers. It's your packaging suppliers. It is your marketing suppliers, the advertising suppliers. All of these people are a part of your value chain. They contribute value to your product. Having the time and making the effort to build a network around that, networking with people in your community, in business groups, chamber of commerce, all those kinds of things, it's important to become a part of those communities as you approach opening your business rather than after you've opened your business. The return on investment will be phenomenal. As I move back to Australia, I will be re-establishing a network so that my value chain around Elixir Specialty Coffee has to be re-established. And the way that I'm going to do that is by engaging in business groups and engaging in chambers of commerce, reconnecting with a bunch of suppliers that can contribute to my value chain and who I can contribute to their value chain. So we'll be taking some time to re-establish that community before we launch in Australia next year, and we'll take a few months to do that. Reason number 4 that you should delay this: you need to put in a fair amount of effort, a very good fair amount of effort into building what you have decided will be the culture and value structure of your small business. This is a very underestimated necessity in a business. And as we see from the group coaching, the thought that goes into this seems to be we'll figure it out on the fly kind of thing. We'll figure it out on the go, if you're not familiar with the term on the fly. The reason that this is not okay and will work against you is if you haven't gone through the effort of trying to determine and establish what your culture is going to be and what your values are, you will continuously be reacting to what happens in the workplace in real time, rather than already having prepared understandings, cultures, and value statements around the way people should be handling certain situations and scenarios. So it is really, really important to know how people should be feeling in the workplace, how you want your staff and your customers and your leadership team to be feeling in the workplace, how you want people to treat each other, how you want people to engage, what's the vibe of the place, how should they be dealing with conflict. Don't forget, we have assertiveness training for people available through our website, and it's a great tool to get your staff to take the assertiveness training so that they know how to communicate with each other. They're not holding back, they're not being too aggressive, but they're communicating what's important to be communicated. Reason number 5, and this is probably the most obvious, but I wanted to keep it last. Reason number 5 for delaying opening your coffee small business is capital. So if I had to pick the most underestimated thing that people put on their lists when starting a business, this is number 2. Number 1 is people don't get enough education and understanding of what's going to be involved in opening a small business, which is why it was number 1 on the list. But number 2 is the amount of capital. And people go into opening a cafe and they assume it's going to cost a certain amount. And a lot of small business coffee consultants will tell you that it will always take you twice as long to open your cafe. It will cost you twice as much, and you will make a fraction of what you think and expect and project that you'll make. That is a really great rule to have going forward. So what should you consider, I guess is a good word. What should you consider when coming together with your understanding of how much capital you'll need? So work with the person who's going to be doing the architectural stuff and find out how much it's going to cost you to build out your cafe. And estimate, have contingencies for double that amount. But here are the other things that you need to include in your capital that most people do not include this in their capital projections for when they're opening their cafe. You should have 12 months worth of projected wages sitting in the bank before you open. On day 1, there should be 12 months of your projected wages in the bank, so that is the main stressor taken care of. So when you're looking for approval of loans. If you can't get approved for enough capital to build the cafe and have 12 months worth of wages, you should delay opening your cafe and either try and find a business owner or perhaps open to a smaller scale. Open a pop-up. A pop-up is much more doable. It will give you a greater sense of exactly what is required from you, and it will help fulfill the number one thing on this list, which is how do I educate myself about all the things that I'm going to need. It's a really great test case for whether you should progress forward to a full-blown, yes, I'm opening a small business and this is how it's going to go. So I hope this has been helpful and given you an understanding of why you should delay opening your cafe or roastery, whatever the small business is. Remember, we don't want less people to open small businesses. We don't want to discourage anybody from opening a small business. We want to encourage you to be more informed and to be more empowered to run great small businesses when you are ready to do so that you are more likely to be successful and not be in the big bracket of people that close their businesses within the first 5 years of them opening. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.